I'm Jennifer Garner. You may know me from my other job, but I'm a business owner too. Here at Once Upon a Farm, we chose the Capital One Venture X business card because it makes everything we do even more rewarding. With no preset spending limit, our purchasing power adapts to meet our business needs. And unlimited double miles on every purchase means we earn more too. And when we travel, we get access to over 1,300 airport lounges. The Capital One Venture X business card. What's in your wallet?
Terms and conditions apply. Find out more at CapitalOne.com/VentureXBusiness.
Welcome to the Dynasty Dugout Show, a podcast covering all things minor league baseball. Get a front row seat to the action with everything you need to know about the future stars of Major League Baseball. And now, here's your host, Chris Clegg.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Appreciate you joining us on this Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Some of you West Coasters, it might be a little early, but thank you for joining us. It's another good week to talk baseball. I am very excited for this week. It's going to be another good one. We've got the AL East teams to break down, but we also have a lot of good action from this past weekend. If you have not already, be sure to subscribe to the Dynasty Dugout and go and check out the write-ups. The Dynasty Digest breaks down everything that you need to know from the previous day, or in today's case, it is the previous weekend. So today, we'll talk about a couple of things from the weekend, and then we will break down the Orioles, who obviously there's a lot to cover with the Baltimore Orioles. So when we look at this weekend and what happened, I do want to talk about Albert Suarez first, who's actually of the Baltimore Orioles. Suarez is a player that you had gotten some questions about. His spring performance had been pretty good. 34-year-old righty, spent most of his career as a minor league journeyman before spending 2022 and 2023 in the KBO. He had a little bit of MLB time, but not much, and honestly had not been all that good. So when we look at Suarez, and I got questions after like a spring start, I'm like, no, like, why would this guy be legit? I didn't see it. Well, he made another good start, and then he made another good start yesterday. It was, not as good as the first two. He had tossed 5 scoreless prior to Sunday's outing, in which he allowed 3 earned runs in 4 innings, but all the damage came in the first inning. He allowed a single to Springer, a double to Bo Bichette, and then Alejandro Kirk homered. But this is an interesting profile with Albert Suarez, looking at who he is. Well, he is a 34-year-old that has a really good fastball, actually. It's at 94.5, touch near 96. It's got really solid shape on it. He got 8 whiffs with the fastball alone, which was 47% whiff rate. Mixed a cutter, changeup, slider, and curve. All looks solid. I don't know. I'm pretty torn on Albert Suarez. Does he get a crack at the rotation to begin the year? We know Kyle Bradish is down. We know John Means is delayed. I think it's possible. Obviously, you look at the rotation on roster resource, and it's full. I mean, it looks full per se. But I have a hard time believing that he can't beat out Tyler Wells, or he can't beat out several of these other guys in the rotation right now that obviously it looks locked at the top with Burns, Rodriguez, and Dean Kremer. But Tyler Wells and Cole Irvin, Albert Suarez could definitely take starts from these guys. As is Chase McDermott, who also pitched yesterday. I have a hard time thinking that McDermott breaks camp with the team. He's looked really good this spring. I went back and analyzed every pitch of his start yesterday. But his performance was really good too. And I was encouraged by what he did. I saw Cade Povich live earlier, a week ago, I guess, when I was in Florida. And then watching Chase McDermott, I've seen him live last year, and then seeing him again yesterday pitch, I thought he looked really good. He threw 3 scoreless. He struck out 6. It was the end of the game, so a lot of the reserves were in for Baltimore. But still, I mean, we're talking a really good fastball that set near 95. It showed really good life up in the zone. Location was hit or miss, but he did generate 6 whiffs on it and 11 swings. The slider was buried down well. It gets nice sweeping action. I think that the changeup also is a solid pitch, showed really good fading action, missed bats with it too. So I'm pretty intrigued by what Chase McDermott brings to the table. And I do think that McDermott and Cade Povich will also be vying for a rotation spot. So Baltimore's rotation gets really interesting really quick. Ultimately, this is a good problem to have for Baltimore. But for fantasy purposes, how do we sort this out? And I think that's still tough to figure out. But right now, I think Albert Suarez may have the best shot to ultimately break camp with this team and be a starter. We shall see, but I will say it's going to be fun to watch. That's the Orioles guys to talk about. Obviously, Holly hit a grand slam yesterday. Kobe Mayo's looked really good. I was talking to some people, and I think that Kobe Mayo may actually have a shot to break camp this year. May be crazy to say, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Mayo breaks camp. I think this week will be pretty telling, depending on what he does. I think there's a real possibility here that we see Kobe Mayo in camp with the Baltimore Orioles when all's said and done. And he's in that opening day lineup. I know it sounds crazy, but he's performing. He's really good. And I think he's ready. So that could be a possibility too. We don't need to talk much about O'Neal Cruz, but he hit 2 homers, 116.6 and 114.4 off the bat. He's got big pop, could hit 40 this year, could steal 20 bases. Not out of the realm of possibility. Richie Palacios had another big homer, 110 off the bat. He had another 105.3. He's never hit the ball that hard, but he went to Driveline this offseason, and I'm wondering if the results have paid off. Performance has been so-so this spring, but he's shown some good things. Palacios may be on a strong side of platoon in Tampa. James Wood, again, he's hitting the ball hard. He's getting on base. I'm just going to put it out there. James Wood, I would put it very, very low chances that he breaks camp with the team. They would be foolish to do so. I think that this is a case where we most likely see Wood and Cruz down until August because Nationals aren't contending. So what's the reason to bring them up? They're going to bring them up in August, let them get some run, and ultimately see what they can do, get their feet wet. And then from there, they're likely going to just bring them up opening day 2025, let them make a run at Rookie of the Year. Jason Lee asked, can Mayo and Cowser both break camp? Yeah, I think so. I think that's a real possibility that they both break camp. I mean, the Orioles are a contending team that wants to win. I think you have to put your best foot forward at this point. And I think that Mayo, Cowser, and Holiday are all it. Do they find time? Yeah, I mean, you look, and currently the first base situation is Ryan O'Hearn. So, I mean, I have no problem believing that Mountcastle doesn't bump to first. Mayo could DH. Mayo could play first base. Jordan Westberg could become a super utility guy, and Mayo play third. Holiday's going to man second. Gunner's going to man short. And I also think it's possible that Austin Hayes could get DH reps. You see Cowser in the outfield, or Cowser could get DH reps. There's ways for this to happen with all of these guys breaking camp with the team, which would be crazy, but I don't think it's also crazy to think about considering the Orioles are in a spot to win, and their best chance to win is with Holiday, Mayo, and Cowser in this lineup. Riley Green, he is apparently very angry that he's hitting the ball on the ground so much. He told Evan Petzold, who's a great writer for Detroit Free Press, trying to get the ball in the air is my goal. I'm explicit, tired of hitting the ball on the ground. Trying to get the ball in the air with pure spin and hit it hard. Well, Green hits it hard, but he hits the ball on the ground a lot. 50% ground ball rate last year, 60% to the pool side. That's concerning. But he did lift it on Sunday. He had an 18-degree and 19-degree launch angle, and one of those balls left the bat at 112 miles an hour. So Green's a fun one. Ryan Weathers, I think, might actually get a shot in Miami. Edward Cabrera going down with injury. They've got some openings. I think Ryan Weathers might be the guy. Him and Puck could get shot at the rotation, and Weathers looked good again. Struck out 7 over 5 innings on Sunday. The fastball's up. The slider looks really good. I'm really intrigued by what Ryan Weathers brings to the table. But let's get to some Orioles prospects. We've already hit on a couple of them. Jackson Holliday. Obviously, we know that Jackson Holliday is an elite prospect. He might be one of the best prospects in all of baseball. He's in that top tier for sure for me. Jackson Holliday last year was 19 years old in his first full season, and he was dominant. I mean, he looked extremely good all year. He posted high contact rates, high OBPs, high batting averages. He showed a little bit of pop. He showed some speed. I don't think Jackson Holliday is one that I need to spend a ton of time on. I think Holliday, you know what you're getting with him. He is a hitter that is going to hit the ball where it's pitched. He's going to make a lot of contact. He's going to get on base at a high clip. Holliday's a little bit of a smaller guy. I think the power's been a question, but he did have 30 doubles, 9 triples, and 12 homers last year, which is encouraging. That's 51 extra base hits. The exit velocities I thought were pretty good for a 19-year-old. He had a 91 mile an hour average exit velocity and 102.3 mile an hour 90th percentile. So the 9th percentile was a little bit below MLB average, but the average EV is actually above MLB average. He's going to have to lift the ball more. He actually had a negative launch angle to the pull side, which, talk about Riley Green. Here's Jackson Holliday, negative 1 degree to the pull side, and just a 6-degree launch angle on balls hit over 95 miles an hour. The defense is yet to catch up, in my opinion, but I think he's going to start as a second baseman. He's a fine second baseman. He's a fine shortstop, but those aren't concerns. He's a bat-first guy. He's going to get on base, and he's going to hit the ball. And I think he's going to grow into more power. I think this is a 2020 profile that we're looking at here with Jackson Holliday, so that's obviously pretty intriguing. Kobe Mayo, who I told you also I think is going to break camp with the team. 22 years old. He'll spend the entire year this year as a 22-year-old. So he was 21 all last year. He got 267 plate appearances in AAA, which is encouraging. Mayo was a 4th-round overslot pick in the shortened 2020 draft. He ultimately mashed last year, and he did some really, really good things. The power is undeniable here. He had a 92 mile an hour average EV and a 107 mile an hour 9th percentile. He made contact at a 74% clip, but that jumped significantly in zone to 83%. Very low chase rate, selective hitter. Kobe Mayo is going to get on base at a high clip, and he's going to hit for power. This is big boy power. I think that Mayo probably is a 30 home run bat consistently that could get to 40. He actually has a really good arm. I think he's a better glove than people realize at third, which is why I think that's possible that Westberg becomes a super util guy for now if Mayo does break camp with the team. Because, like Mayo, 70 grade arm over there. It's legit. I think that we see him mashing in Camden Yards soon. I know those dimensions changed out in left field. This doesn't affect a hitter like Kobe Mayo. It affected a Ryan Mountcastle. It doesn't affect the kind of hitter that Kobe Mayo is with the kind of power that he has. So, Kobe Mayo is a dude. I think we see him playing this year and playing pretty early. This guy, not so much, but that doesn't mean that he's not legit. That's Samuel Basallo. He, I think, makes a run to push for a 4th straight year of having a top prospect in all of baseball be a Baltimore Oriole. Seen from Baseball America, that's happened with Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, and Jackson Holliday. I think we see it here with Samuel Basallo as well. A lot of graduates in the top 10 this year that'll be coming. I mean, you look, Basallo, excellent scouting find by their international scouting director, Kobe Perez. In 2021, he signed for $1.3 million, and actually he was signed with the Yankees, or he was scheduled to sign with the Yankees, but it fell through. The Orioles swooped in and got him. We're looking at a hitter with big power, really good OBP skills, and good enough contact. 9th percentile exit velocity of 106, right there with Kobe Mayo. And he is 2.5 years younger than Kobe Mayo. So that's obviously substantial that he's hitting the ball that hard already. He made contact on 73% of pitches. And ultimately, the OBP skills are super good. I mean, we're talking a 149 WRC plus in 352 plate appearances in low A, a 195 WRC plus in high A before getting a taste at double A the end of last year. He'll be 19. As I mentioned, for the majority of the 2024 season, he likely starts in Double-A, and I think he pushes to Triple-A. But Samuel Basallo, I think he's legit. He's going to be a top guy, I think, as soon as this year. I mean, if we see Mayo and Holiday graduate pretty quickly, then Basallo's it. He is the top guy in the system, and I think he has a chance to be the top guy in all of baseball. Colton Cowser, who we also mentioned, is a potential to break camp. And if you're joining us later, I think that Mayo, Holiday, and Cowser can all break camp with this team, which is wild, but I think it's a real possibility. He is the early front runner to make the spot, according to Andy Kotska of the Baltimore Banner. And he's continued to hit. We're talking 4 home runs already this spring, 450, 577, 1050 slash, and that's a 1050 slug, not OPS, which is crazy. Cowser's an interesting one because the prospect fatigue hit him really hard. He made his major league debut in 2023, but he did not get the results that he was hoping for. He came up 2 days short of exhausting his prospect eligibility, so he's going to have a chance to win Rookie of the Year this year. He batted 115 with a 40 WRC plus and a 29% strikeout rate. He did walk 17% of the time, but he was way too passive. I think that ultimately this is a guy that renews some confidence this spring. And I think that he still enters the season with potential to be a 2020 guy with a very high OBP, which is something to be excited about. He's capable of playing center field. He hits for power. He steals bags. The exit velocities were good, talking a 91 mile an hour average, which is well above MLB average, and a ninth percentile of 105. The contact and the passivity are the question marks here. Like, he's walking so much because he's being so passive. But I do think that there's the chance that with some more aggression that we see Colton Cowser ultimately be a better hitter because of the fact that, well, he's swinging more and earlier in counts. It's kind of the Emmanuel Rodriguez thing here where he is swinging, he's not swinging enough early in the counts, and that's hurting him. He's getting pitches that he can't hit later in counts, and he is striking out. But Colton Cowser is a great buy low candidate. Maybe that window is closing a little bit as he's dominating this spring, and they're like, all right, he's making the team. But I think that this is a case where people put too much stock into a small major league sample, and they're not willing to buy. I'm willing to buy. I watched him the other day live, and I was impressed. I mean, he's done some really, really good things. Heston Kjerstad. It's interesting to me that this is how good this system is, where Kjerstad is the 5th player we're talking about here. Kjerstad's still a really, really good prospect. Kjerstad's been a mixed bag of results this spring. I saw him again the other week, and he showed some strikeout stuff, swing and miss. He's hitting 286. He has not homered this spring, which is interesting because he does have big power. But Kjerstad, I just think we're happy to see him playing ball. I mean, he was selected 2nd overall in 2020. He got myocarditis that almost ended his career and potentially could have ended his life. I mean, it was pretty serious stuff that he was dealing with. He had a hamstring injury after returning in 2022. That kept him out, most of all of 2022. And then 2023, he came back and looked really, really good. Of course, Heston Kjerstad should have dominated single A. He was a college hitter at this point who was much older than the competition. He started in Double A in 2023, and he was 24. Like, this was an age-appropriate level. And he put up really big numbers. He hit 310, 383 OBP, 576 slug, 11 homers, and 206 plate appearances. He bumps to Triple A, continues to dominate there. Hit 298, 371, 498 with 10 home runs in 377 plate appearances. So then he gets his call. He gets his shot in the majors, and he hit a home run, I think his first or second game, which was a lot of fun. There's big power here with Kjerstad. There's never been any denying that. The contact, I think has been a question for some. But last year, the contact was good. I mean, he made 75% overall contact, which is above minor league average. It's slightly below MLB average, but he made an contact in the zone at 88%. And that is really, really good. That's firmly plus zone contact. I love to see that. Ultimately, the power is there. He had a 106 mile an hour, 9th percentile exit velocity, and an average EV of 90 miles an hour. So for any people on Twitter that tell you Heston Kjerstad does not have power, just look at the numbers. I think it speaks for itself. Kjerstad's kind of the opposite of Cowser in the sense of that he is a lot more aggressive and he's not going to take a walk. I mean, he will, but not the clip that we'll see Cowser take a walk. Kjerstad's going to play better in an average league than an OBP league, and Cowser's going to play better in an OBP league than an average league, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean that Heston Kjerstad won't be a good play. My question is, like, where does he play long term? Is it first base? Is it a corner outfield spot? Is it DH? I don't know. I think that's still being ironed out, as this team is absolutely loaded with talent. Kjerstad just turned 25. So at this point, like, I think we want to see some good performance moving forward. But when you factor in the age and how much time he missed, I think that's the most important thing is that, all right, this guy was set back nearly 3 years by the pandemic, by his health. That's a huge thing right there. So while he may be, quote, older, you look and he hasn't really had the development time that most his age have. So with that being said, I still like Heston Kjerstad a lot. I'm still buying in here. The question is, when does he play in Baltimore and where does he play? I think that's still a question mark. Dylan Beavers, he is going to shoot up boards, in my opinion. Beavers is a power speed corner outfielder. He, I think, had hit tool concerns when he was drafted, but he's kind of put some of those away. He made major improvements in 2023. 2022, we're talking a contact rate of 74%. Okay, that's average. Jumped to 81% in 2023. That's absolutely nuts to see that kind of improvement from one season to the next, especially as we're talking that he moved up. I mean, he ultimately was in Double-A for a large part of the year. He didn't hit the home run totals that we wanted to see. That was really the biggest thing. He had 11 home runs. He stole 27 bags. But there's much more juice in the bat with Dylan Beavers than he showed. I think given the exit velocities here, he is easily a 20 home run bat. And I'm still buying him as that. I think the Beavers could be a consistent 20-20 guy that with the contact stick, I mean, he could hit 275. Talking good OBP skills too, maybe a 100-point higher OBP. So could he be a 275, 375 guy? Absolutely. The power's there if he lifts the ball a little more. It's the biggest thing. Riley Green needs to yell at him and tell him to lift it a little bit more. Actually, the interesting thing is that while the launch angles, quote, don't seem ideal, the ground ball rates are okay. He's seeing the ball almost like too high at times, like very like pop-up territory. So you got to get those launch angles right. But if he does, then I think there's really good pop here with Dylan Beavers. I think we see him really vault up boards this year, and one that I'm really excited about. Connor Norby. Norby is somebody that flew up boards. I mean, he was like top 20 for a lot of people after 2022. And I was kind of screaming, pump the brakes a little bit, because the underlying data on Norby was not all that great. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't the power that many thought. People were saying, oh, he's going to be a 25 home run bat, because between those three levels, he absolutely matched. He hit 29 homers between three levels in 2022. But that's not really who Connor Norby is. Connor Norby is going to be a hit tool first type, in my opinion. And ultimately, he's going to have some power, but maybe not to the power that we think he did it. I mean, he backed it up this year with a 21 homer season, but it was across 633 plate appearances, which that's a compiler. Like, And that may be what Norby is. He's a compiler. He gets a lot of plate appearances, and he puts up numbers because of that. But the EVs certainly aren't there. 86.5 mile an hour average, which is below average. 101.5 mile an hour 90th is below average as well. He's a smaller guy. He's pretty filled out already. I don't see him tapping into much more. But he doesn't miss mistakes. That's the biggest thing. If he gets a mistake pitch, he's going to punish it. Zone contact rates have been consistently good, 85% the last 2 years. I think Norby is the type of player that probably hits a lot of doubles in the gap. He gets to 15 to 18 homers. He steals you 10 bags, and he's going to hit for good average and have a good OBP as well. So while Norby isn't the, quote, like, flashiest type of player, I think Connor Norby is a really good player. Where he finds his time, I think that's still to be determined because this is become a really crowded team really quick. I still feel like Norby probably could get traded. And I'm surprised he didn't get traded this offseason. We saw Joey Ortiz go, obviously. But Norby is one that I still think that he could potentially, find a spot somewhere else, or Baltimore trade somebody else to find a spot for him. We shall see. Enrique Bradfield Jr. is a lot of fun here. I mean, he's got speed for days. He's got elite center field defense. You're talking about probably the only player in the draft last year that had 280 grade tools in his speed and his defense. He's legit. I mean, he's going to steal bags. He's going to get on base. The contact skills were actually really good last year. He doesn't chase often at all. I think the power is the biggest question. Maybe he's a 5 to 8 home run bat. But when you steal 50 bags, like, okay, it kind of helps you out there when you can steal those number of bases and, not hurt your power too much. I mean, he can get away with the lower power numbers, given the stolen bases, given the fact that he's going to be on base a lot. I mean, really good walk rates, really good OBP numbers. I mean, he stole 25 bags over 25 games last year as a professional. I mean, it's a legit profile. He is legit. I think we see him up manning center field sooner than later. What does that mean for Cedric Mullins? I think that's still to be determined, but Bradfield is the center fielder of the future here with the Baltimore Orioles. Let's talk the arms that we talked about earlier. Cade Povich and Chase McDermott. Povich was really good when I saw him last week. I'd seen Chase McDermott live last year, so I was really looking forward to seeing Cade Povich, and I just worked out to see him in spring training. He and McDermott are going to battle for rotation spots, in my opinion. He is one that, while he's not very flashy, like, he gets the job done. We've seen the Orioles actually develop pitchers really well. I think that Povich and McDermott could be those guys. I mean, this was a trade in which they acquired him back in 2022 from the Twins. I mean, they got Yunior Cano also in this deal. And, right now, I think this deal looks pretty good for Baltimore because they traded Jorge Lopez, who's a fine reliever, but to get Cano, who's a really good reliever, to get Cade Povich, and also get Juan Rojas and Juan Nunez, some dart throw types. That's pretty interesting. I mean, with Povich, he's a big lefty, 6'3". He works pretty quick. Fastball was sitting like 93, 94. When I saw him over 3 innings, he touches mid-90s. He throws a curveball, which has good downward action. He throws a changeup that has good running away from right-handed hitters. This is a lefty arm, so changeup goes away from righties, which is good. He does throw it a good bit. He throws 5 to 6 pitches, depending on the start. Mix in a slider, mix in a cutter. It's a pretty intriguing profile, actually, with Povich. I mean, he's consistent. He throws strikes. It's a really good profile. McDermott actually had the opposite thing where he had concerns with the strike throwing, but that improved late last year. Actually, in AAA, it improved, which is wild. The ABS system hurt a lot of guys, and then he got better in AAA, and he threw more strikes in AAA, which is really weird to say, but I mean, this is what happened here with McDermott. McDermott was part of the Trey Mancini deal. He's part of the Astros system. And the Orioles got Seth Johnson, and Chase McDermott and Seth Johnson we'll talk about in a minute. But ultimately, McDermott, I mean, he's going from having big-time reliever risk to looking like a really solid starter. Big stuff here. It's a big riding fastball. I mean, I posted yesterday, he averaged 19.5 inches of IVB, which is elite at the top of the zone. He's got to locate it well at the top of the zone, but when he does, it's really, really good. Changeup showed nice fade, like 15 inches, do a slider, do a curveball. I mean, this is a really good arsenal. The question is the walk rate, but we've seen it trend downward from 17.4% in AA in 2022 to 15.3% as he returned to AA in 2023, down to 11% in AAA. The strike rates went way up. He limited hard contact. He didn't allow a lot of base runners. He did have a back injury that ended his season a little early, but he looks healthy this spring, and he looks like he can make an impact on this rotation pretty soon, actually. So Chase McDermott, Cade Povich, wants to really keep an eye on here that I am very excited about. Seth Johnson is another arm, as I mentioned. He came over in that deal too. I think Johnson's more of a underrated arm. Everybody talks about Cade Povich. They talk about Chase McDermott, but not a lot of people talk about Seth Johnson. He's 25. He's a 6'1" right-handed pitcher. Yeah, he's ultimately one that it was kind of like out of sight, out of mind because he didn't pitch a lot in 2023 and ultimately didn't pitch a lot in 2022. This is a case where he hasn't been healthy all that often. He was in the Rays org, and that's a case where I believe the Rays did some really good things with him. He had a really good year in 2021 with this team and then hasn't pitched much since. But Seth Johnson does bring a lot to the table here. I mean, it's a solid fastball. It's good breaking balls. I mean, I think it's a plus fastball slider combo here. The question with Seth Johnson is ultimately his command. We've seen the walk rates be a little higher than you want to see. They're kind of reliever risk territory is McDermott, but McDermott improved those numbers. And I can believe that Seth Johnson with health could do this too. So I'm not ruling out that we see Seth Johnson be a starter. He still has a lot to prove, though, with this team. And I think that he's going to have to just prove health more than anything. This guy, Mac Horvath, is one that I've been really excited about since college. I mean, he was a second-round pick. He does a lot of things well. He had a very, very good collegiate career at a very solid school in UNC. North Carolina obviously is the top team every year. And last year at UNC, 24 homers and 25 stolen bases with a 305, 418, 711 slash. And he stepped right into pro ball and looked every bit legit, making it to high A. And between 3 stops, rookie ball, single A, and high A, hit 5 homers, stole 14 bags, and he slashed 321, 455, 603. That was across 99 plate appearances. So a smaller sample there with Mac Horvath, but it's one where the data also is really, really good on this guy. And he's one that I think could really fly upwards. And I think that right now there's been some hype, like Eric Cross loves Mac Horvath. So like he's got a lot of buzz there, but also like he's getting more buzz around the industry too, because he is legit. This is a really good prospect to take like in the 20 to 30 range of FYPDs. If you haven't already, you look, he made zone contact at 90% last year, which is very encouraging. He put up really good EVs. He had a 93 mile an hour average in college and a 105 90th. So I think that's probably above average with Wood, and he's got the speed. So Mac Horvath, somebody that I really love and I'm investing in where I can. As is this guy, Braylon Tavera, who has gotten a lot more love recently, which is great. I know I saw Prospects Live pushed him a lot. And Tavera for me is one that, he was interesting because he didn't like stand out in the DSL in 2022, nor really at the complex in 2023, but it's all the tools in the world. He signed for $1.7 million back in 2022. He He has really good plate discipline for his age. He picks up spin well. He's got strong bat-to-ball skills, which has resulted in good batting averages. I mean, I think the skills all translate this year. He's a bigger guy. I think he's outgrown his 6'2", 175 frame. Like, he's taller and he weighs more than that. Now, the speed is plus. He's translated it to on-base skills. And I think we see more power ultimately from Braylon Tavera. I wouldn't be shocked if he comes up in single A, starts the year in full season ball, and he moves to high A pretty quickly because this guy has the intangibles. He has the skill set, and he's one that I'm really excited about here. So Braylon Tavera is one that I'd watch out for pretty closely, as is Thomas Sosa, who's a little bit further down my list, but Sosa's pretty intriguing. This is a big guy with really long legs. I think that Sosa maybe talked about it kind of reminds me of like an Austin Charles build, where last year was like, oh man, like Austin Charles seemingly kind of coming out of nowhere. I know Charles was a little bit of a disappointment, but there's still skills here. Sosa was actually really good, the complex last year. He, in 39 games, 143 plate appearances, 4 homers, 3 triples, 7 doubles, 290, 385, 492 slash, and even stole 5 bases. But Sosa's a massive guy. I think taps into more power. I think he probably maintained some speed for a decent part of his career. And ultimately, when we look at Sosa, I wouldn't be shocked if he moves up boards pretty significantly. So he's one that I wrote up as somebody to get in early on. I think it was Prospects I'm Buying this year, one of those articles on the site. So you can check that out. You can just search Thomas Sosa and check out that write-up from him, or I'll link it here in the description. But Sosa is legit, and I think that Sosa makes a big jump this year with Braylon Tavera. I'm also excited about Matthew Etzel, who was a draftee last year out of Southern Miss. 10th rounder, looks to be a really good grab for them, in my opinion. He's not a big power guy, but he's high in contact, and he steals bases at a high clip as well. He hit for good average consistently throughout his collegiate career, and he's got the OBP and the stolen base skills. Maybe it's a 10 home run profile, but I mean, the Orioles could tap in more here. Not ruling that out at all. Couple of arms that I do want to hit on. Another draftee this year, Jackson Baumeister out of Florida State. He ultimately was one that he had first round buzz in 2022. Ends up going 63rd overall to the Orioles. It was actually the highest drafted pitcher by the Orioles since Mike Elias took over, which is interesting. The team likes him. They gave him an overslot deal. Didn't make his debut last year, but Baumeister is one that could move up boards. I'm very excited to see what happens there with Baumeister, because he's 6'4", big righty, upper 90s fastball, hammer curveball. If he refines the slider and the changeup a little bit, I think that Baumeister becomes a much more relevant pitching prospect really quickly. So I'm excited about him and what he can do, as is this next guy, Kiefer Lord, who they also drafted this year. They did really well in the draft, in my opinion. He only had 1 game professionally, but this is a guy who was kind of a late bloomer in college. He had big velo gains. He's upper 90s at times now, but sits mid 90s. It's a big curveball, a lot of vertical drop, fastball with ride, slider and changeup. And I hate to throw a comp like this, but it's like the Bryce Miller mold, honestly, where he was a late bloomer in college with that big riding fastball. He just needs to develop one of the secondaries very nicely, and he could be in business here. Kiefer Lord, I think, is legit. There's plenty of room for development, and he's got projection on a 6'3", 190-pound frame. So with Kiefer Lord, I'd watch out for him pretty closely. As is Alex Pham, who also is a really fun name. He was a 19th rounder in 2021. He was a reliever strictly for the first year and a half of his career. But he's one that popped up this year as a starter. Okay. He started 19 games. He piggybacked 7 other games. So like he was getting starter workload all season. He pitched in high A, had a 2.45 ERA, 51 innings with 76 strikeouts. Jumped to double A, had a 2.67 ERA across 60 innings with 54 strikeouts. The strikeouts did tick down in double A bit, but the results were still there. Pham has a big riding fastball, much like I was talking about with Kiefer Lord. It is legit, and it's one that I think is a really solid pitch to pair with a slider. I'm pretty intrigued by Alex Pham. I mean, if he can handle a starter's workload, this might be a guy here that I'm pretty interested by. So watch out for Pham this year. The Orioles just are deep. It's a very deep system here, so I'm excited about Alex Pham. Talk another pitcher, Luis De Leon, a lefty who seemingly came out of nowhere in 2023. The Orioles play the international game really well now with Mike Elias, and it shows here. He's a 20-year-old, 6'3" lefty. Started the season at the complex, but he was really good in single-A Delmarva this year as well. And the complex, a 1.65 ERA across 27 innings with 36 Ks. And then in Delmarva, single-A, 2.39 ERA, 31 Ks in 26 innings. It's a mid-90s fastball. It's a really lively breaking ball. The control is the question mark. But if the control and command improve, then we're talking about a really solid arm here with Luis De Leon, 20-year-old left-handed pitcher. Frederick Ben Cosme, somebody that I thought would potentially break out. I'm about to sneeze. If I sneeze once, I usually sneeze a lot. So apologies for that. All right, back to Frederick Ben Cosme. Hopefully the sneezes are done. He's a 20-year-old infielder who I really loved and I thought would break out in 2023. He really was a bit disappointing, I'd say. You look back at 2022, and he was really good. Like, it looked to me like this guy was going to soar in the top 100s. And that really didn't happen, but he's a versatile infielder. He has shown some solid skills. He spent the full year last year in high A. He slashed 246, 338, 319. No power to speak of. He did walk nearly as much as he struck out, which is good. And he stole 28 bases. So pretty encouraging there as far as the stolen bases and the OBP potential, at least. Showed the ability to take a walk. But where will the power land with Ben Cosme? And I think that's ultimately the question mark here that we need to see. He's got a frame that still has room to fill out. He's 6 foot, 160. I think that he probably starts the year back in high A and probably gets the bump to double A pretty quickly. But he's one that I think that ultimately has the potential still. He just needs to really tap into that a little bit more. We'll see if he can tap into those underlying skills, because the underlying data in 2022 was pretty solid on him. So he's one that I'd watch pretty closely this year. Jake Cunningham, a big power bat out of UNC Charlotte. He 6'4", 205. He's shown the ability to get to power. His EVs in college were really, really good. He has bat speed. He's got to make more contact. And he's dealt with a lot of injuries, so he needs to kind of prove health there, which would be a big thing to watch out for. But Jake Cunningham is an intriguing prospect that he should be on your board at least as somebody to watch pretty closely this year. A couple other deeper names. Anutis Morton. He is a first baseman. And Morton, I'll spell that first name for you. It's Aneudis, Morton. He's a 19-year-old first baseman. The system, I think he has the potential to break out. I would watch him pretty closely. Obviously, the Orioles have a lot of these guys that have this potential. He's a bigger bodied. He's listed at 6'1", 175, but pretty confident he's a little bit bigger than that. He made it to single A last year, but the complex hit 7 home runs and 141 plate appearances, and he got on base at a 390 clip. So that's pretty intriguing stuff there with Anudis Morton. Also, Leandro Arias, a 19-year-old shortstop. You look at Leandro Arias, and he's one that also showed some really good things last year, and one that, put him in full season ball for a full year. And I think that there's the potential that he also moves up. He spent the full year at the complex. He got on base at a 370 clip. He's 6'1", but he's 155, so room to fill out and add pop. He hit 3 homers, had 7 doubles, and 3 triples in 162 plate appearances. So Leandro Arias, watch out for him. Potentially move up. I mentioned Thomas Sosa already as a guy to watch out for. And Luis Almeida. Luis Almeida was their big signee back in 2023. He received a big bonus. And ultimately, you look and the results were not great. He hit 190 in the DSL with a 290 OBP and a 310 slug. It was a small sample. It was 19 games. So I don't want to put a lot of stock into that. But Almeida is a big profile. I mean, he signed for $2.3 million. It's ultimately one of those cases where, he grew up in New Jersey, but he moved to Dominican Republic when he was 15 so he could sign sooner and help out his family. He was one of the top players in that class in 2023. I mean, he's like top 15 type caliber guy, and he received a bonus that kind of justified that. Here's the thing. He hurt his ankle early in the DSL, and I think he played through that. He had surgery as well. So having surgery on your shoulder and playing through an ankle injury, that seems like a pretty plausible reason to not perform well. But Luis Almeida is one to watch out for. I'm actually not sure. I need to figure out when he's going to return, because I think it's pretty interesting to have shoulder surgery and have that ankle issue as well. So we'll see what Luis Almeida does, but he's an interesting one. Some deeper names, Justin Armbruster. He had a really good spring outing that really popped on my radar. He wasn't fully on my radar, but he did some good things in 2023, especially in Double-A. 62 innings in Double-A, 2.47 ERA. His results in Triple-A weren't nearly as good, but between both levels, the results were solid. He ended up having 128 strikeouts and mid-threes ERA between both. Obviously, the offensive environment's a lot better in the International League, so Armbruster struggled, especially with the ABS system, the automatic ball strike system. It's a fastball that gets a lot of ride, can sit 94. He gets a lot of swing and miss on the breaking ball as well, throws a curveball, and throws a slider too. So Armbruster, an interesting deeper name. Obviously, Creed Willems is a fun name. Big boy out of Texas, big masher. He put up some really good results in Single A, but then he struggled upon the promotion to High A. I think Willems is fine, but I'm not like overly high on him. And then Trace Bright and Carter Baumler are some other arms to watch out for. Baumler was a prep selectee in 2020 draft in the 5th round. Missed 2021 due to TJ, shut down with shoulder issues in 2022, and then ultimately was sent home from the AFL early last year because of shoulder discomfort. He's been good when he's been on the mound, but he hasn't stayed healthy. Trace Bright, another interesting one. He popped on radars early because he struck out 10 batters over 3.1 innings, which was crazy, but he also had some rough stretches. Bright's he's a fine arm. I think that he can be a starter. If he is, he's a back-end starter long term. But Bright, he's not as much upside as like an Alex Pham type, but he is an interesting arm to watch out for. I think that's going to wrap us up. That was a lot of names to cover here. Thank you for hanging out with us all day while you did. Monday morning at 10 o'clock. I appreciate you all. Hope you all have a great day. Enjoy your baseball today, and we will talk tomorrow.
Life can be chaotic. If you're running a retail business, don't let disorganized order fulfillment add to the chaos. Use ShipStation instead. With ShipStation, you never have to worry about shipping and fulfillment again. Whether you're running a business out of your garage or you have multiple warehouses, ShipStation is ideal for every phase of your business's growth. Save time with one login for all your stores and by automating repetitive tasks. Plus, you'll save money with the best shipping rates from global carriers. ShipStation's industry-leading features help you deliver a better customer experience. They'll get accurate and faster shipments along with automated tracking updates with your branding. And with up to 88% off UPS and USPS rates and up to 90% off FedEx rates, ShipStation is the fastest and most affordable way to ship. Calm the chaos. Switch to ShipStation today. Start a free trial at shipstation.com/audio. That's shipstation.com/audio.